The morning sun shone through the window. It was just another day. A girl named Lily hugged her dog Sparky before going to school. "See you later," she said to him, giving his ear a quick scratch. Little did she know that it would be the last time she ever saw her dog alive. When she got home from school that afternoon, the house was filled with smoke. She could see thick grey smoke billowing from underneath the front door. The house was burning down. "No, no, no!" she screamed, tears streaming down her face. She called out for her little sister, Emma, who was only 2 years old. Her parents were away on business, and no one was there to take care of her. She ran to the bedroom where her sister slept, but the little girl was nowhere to be found. Then she saw him, her dog Sparky. He was standing by the crib, barking furiously, and in his mouth, he had a blanket that he had used to cover Emma. Relief washed over Lily. She knew her parents had taught her little sister that if anything bad happened, she should get under the blanket and stay quiet. And it seemed like that's exactly what she had done. But then Lily noticed something else. The blanket in Sparky's mouth wasn't the one Emma always slept with. This one had a different pattern on it. She dropped to her knees and felt for her sister's tiny pulse. There was no time to waste. If they didn't get out of there soon, the whole house would collapse. Just when she thought all hope was lost, she heard a small voice. "Help!" It was coming from under the bed. Lily crawled under the bed and saw her little sister. She reached out for her and asked, "Emma, are you okay?" "I'm scared," her sister whispered. "Can you help me get out from under here?" Lily carefully took Emma's hand, but it was too small for her to pull her out. She looked around for something she could use to pry the planks apart, but before she could do anything, the roof above them started to collapse. Large wooden beams fell down, blocking the only exit. Lily had never been so scared in her entire life. Then suddenly, Sparky jumped into the room. Without hesitation, he started to dig frantically at the rubble, barking loudly. He moved so quickly that Lily couldn't believe her eyes. He moved the heavy logs away, creating a small opening, big enough for her to squeeze through. "Go!" he barked at her. "Take my blanket with you. Wrap it around Emma and keep her safe." Lily understood what he was trying to tell her. She took the blanket and wrapped it around her sister, who was crying by now. Then she went back for Sparky. But when she got to him, he was gone. The flames were getting closer, and she could hear the crackling of the fire behind her. In a panic, Lily ran through the house looking for him. She called out his name, but he didn't answer. Instead, she heard strange noises in the distance. They sounded like barks, but they were much louder and deeper than any sound Sparky had ever made. As she ran, the floor under her feet started to collapse. Suddenly, she felt herself falling. She landed hard on the ground and scraped her palms. When she looked up, she saw that she had fallen through the floor into the basement. She was shaken but unharmed. And there in the corner, she saw him. Her dog Sparky was sitting there with his tail between his legs, whimpering softly. It seemed as if he had aged 10 years in a matter of minutes. His fur was matted and covered in dirt. He had never looked so sad. It took Lily a few seconds to realize what had happened. As she slowly put the pieces together, she felt a surge of anger toward her parents. They had left the fireplace in the living room unattended, and that's how the fire had started. But that wasn't why her dog had acted so strangely. He hadn't run to her for help or tried to guide her to Emma. No, he had saved her sister's life and then rescued her himself. She hugged him tightly and whispered, "Thank you, boy. You saved us." He licked her cheek and barked happily, wagging his tail. Lily stood up and walked over to the stairs. She had to get out of there as fast as she could. She wanted to call the firefighters, but then she stopped. Her dog was still down there in the basement. If the house collapsed, he wouldn't have a chance to escape. Suddenly, she remembered her parents' old flashlight that she used to play with as a child. It was lying right there on the basement stairs. Quickly, she climbed down and went back to Sparky. "Come on, boy," she said, holding out the flashlight. "Let's get out of here." He hesitated for a moment before slowly approaching her. She put the flashlight in his mouth and tied a rope around his collar. Then she started to climb up the stairs, pulling on the rope. To her horror, the basement door suddenly burst open. Thick black smoke poured out, making her cough and splutter. She had to get out of there. But as she turned to leave, she saw a fireman standing in the doorway. "There's a dog in here," he shouted over the noise. "He's trapped." The man nodded. "I'll go get him. You stay here." Then he disappeared into the smoke. After what felt like hours, Lily finally heard a bark. She turned around and saw the fireman coming toward her with Sparky in his arms. The dog was limp and barely breathing. He had inhaled a lot of smoke. "Quick, we have to hurry," the fireman said, running toward the ambulance. Lily followed closely behind. She was so relieved to see her dog being taken care of. But then she noticed something. The fireman had found her little sister's blanket in the rubble. But Emma was nowhere to be seen. She ran over to the paramedics and asked, "Where is she? Where's my sister?" The fireman knelt down next to her and said, "Don't worry, Lily. Your sister is safe. She was in the backyard. When we arrived, she was a little scared, but she's fine." Lily let out a huge sigh of relief. She was so happy to hear that her little sister was safe. At that moment, she understood how lucky they had been. Sparky had saved them all. Over the next few days, everyone praised Sparky for his bravery. He had become a local hero, but for Lily, he would always be her hero. She knew that without him, she and her sister wouldn't have made it out of that house alive. One evening, Lily was petting Sparky when she noticed a small lump on his side. She pressed her fingers against it and realized it was a bullet wound. It must have happened during the fire. She looked into his sad eyes and whispered, "You're such a hero, Sparky. I'll love you forever." From that day forward, their bond became even stronger. Lily knew she owed her life to her brave dog, and she promised him that she would never forget what he had done for her.